welcome back, viewers. You are still tuned into Prime Live. Now, as we said earlier, we hope you had a wonderful Eid with some lovely celebrations with your family and friends. But one or two of us might have overindulged and already, got rid of the healthy habits that we picked up in Ramadan. And if you've been on social media today, you might have heard it being called a halal hangover. So join us today in our health and wellness conversation today with our health and resident wellness expert, Mr. Ronald Abvajee. We will be navigating all things health and wellness and overcoming this so-called halal hangover. Assalamu alaikum, Ronald. Thank you for joining us on Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam. It's always good to be with you.
Now, we know that Eid Day is a lovely day, right? We're all indulging in all the yummy foods and sweet treats and all the things that we enjoy on an Eid Day. And a lot of families have, different traditions of the types of things that they eat on Eid Day. But the common thread is overindulgence and can kind of backtrack us a little bit, because a lot of us pick up very good healthy habits during Ramadan. I mean, we think about, wanting to choose healthier things to put into our bodies when we're breaking our fast, and, the health, of course, and the health benefits thereof that come from fasting. It's almost like we collapse all of that in the one day that we celebrate Eid. But talk to us about, some of the risks, of course, of this overindulgence on one day after having fasted for 30 days.
As you step into a space of Eid, we love the celebration, but we cannot negate nor neglect the impact on the body. So I'll talk from a physiological lens, psychological lens, and of course a well-being lens. So coming from Ramadan links into intermittent fasting principle, because you're fasting sunset to sunrise, on average 12 to 14 hours. If you're in Cape Town, it's half an hour more, but that's what it is. What does that do to the body? It means the body goes through a process of utilizing what it has, excess fat, to maximize metabolism during the day. You take about a week or 10 days to get into Ramadan. You might get headaches, cravings, thirst, etc. The middle 10 days of Ramadan on average, you kind of find your balance. And the last 10 days of Ramadan, it's okay, it's not so bad, because your body has adapted. And that's a beautiful thing about our physiology. But what happens on Eid? One, you are up early in the morning. Alhamdulillah, you're up early. You go to read your salah, do what you need to do, but then breakfast starts. And I went to eat breakfast yesterday, and what I thought would be fruit, eggs, toast, and some protein was prawn curry, chicken curry, fish curry, pepper chicken, naan, rotis, garlic breads, and dessert. It was delicious, but overindulging, because what happens when you overindulge? Your body and insulin spikes. When your insulin spikes, you crash soon thereafter, which leads to fatigue, exhaustion, and you're just feeling tired. What also happens when you overindulge, especially after Ramadan, your stomach has become smaller, like a balloon. There's something called gastric emptying. So your body cannot gastric empty into the intestines to digest and, of course, to remove that from your system. And what happens with that is that increases the risk of bloatedness and fatigue. And then finally, when you're having these high sugary drinks, high sugary foods, and of course high protein, and you're having highly fatty foods, back to back, because you got breakfast 1, breakfast 2, lunch, post-lunch, tea, early dinner, late dinner, and then tea again, you're creating something where it's high processed and high sugar. That means that the vagal tone, which is the nerve that says time out, relax, chill, to the brain, doesn't work as effectively as what it should. It doesn't fire as effectively as what it should, because you're still eating, which means that the gut to brain signal is also slowed down. So you end up feeling absolutely lethargic. The system is in shock as you come from one extreme to the next. And today you are dealing with the principles of what a hangover is for many out there. And the principles are fatigue, exhaustion, tiredness, a little bit of irritability. Some might have constipation, others might have a runny tummy, but ultimately you are feeling drained.
So we're basically setting up ourselves for disaster, the way we're eating and indulging and overindulging on Eid Day. And we've talked about, during the Ramadan segment of Prime Live, we've talked about how many wonderful benefits there are to fasting. And it kind of almost takes away all that hard work you've done by overindulging on Eid Day. But I want to talk about some of the good things that we're able to do in Ramadan that you would like to see our viewers at home continue on after Ramadan. A lot of us are not indulging in the samosas and the pies, and we are being more conscious of what we're putting in our bodies, especially since we've had conversations about the healthier things we can be consuming at Seri, and some of the healthier things we should be using when or using to eat when we are breaking our fast. What are some of the healthy habits you would like our viewers to remember to take with them post Ramadan?
It's very simple. I'll call it the three M's. One, you got to move. You've got to keep the body moving. In the month of Ramadan, when you're reading your Tarawih Salah, you're reading 20 rakats of Salah. There's so many calories that you burn. You're active, I think, for a lot more than what many people are active throughout the week in the month of Ramadan. The second thing is you're also reading different Salah, so your body is active because the physical action of reading Salah links into strength, flexibility, a little bit of cardio, mobility, and that's what it is. So move your body, and you know what it takes? It takes a short walk. It takes a short walk. There's something called the nitric oxide dump, which is a 3-minute routine you could do every 2 hours, which maximizes the body's ability for oxygen, cardio health benefits. One nitric oxide dump workout is equivalent to the effects of 42 minutes of light walking. I'm just saying, that's a wonderful return on investment for me. And the last thing is mindful breath. Mindful breath allows us to relax and bring the body back into homeostasis, decreasing cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and maximizing this equilibrium that we are chasing and getting oxygen into our bodies. 3 actions. But to drill down deeper in nutrition, do not neglect your fiber foods. Focus on your proteins, focus on your hydration, and focus on fibrous foods. So you're talking about your veggies, your proteins, and your fruits. You're talking about the right type of carbohydrates and not to overindulge on those carbohydrates, and try to avoid high sugar and high processed foods.
Now, we talk about this post Ramadan context, right? And this concept of a halal hangover. And for what that means for a lot of people is not just recovering from the overindulgence of Eid, but I don't know if you're experiencing this as well. You find that you are not used to eating so many times in one day. So you kind of just in this adjustment period where you're remembering, okay, I need to now eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I know the moms at home are now overloaded with having to produce 3 meals a day as opposed to just suhoor and iftar. But when it comes to from a nutritional perspective, it's a lot for the body to now readjust. We were fasting for 30 days and now we're back to the normal. We're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What are some of the important nutritional elements we should be taking into consideration during this adjustment period? And more importantly, how do we ease our bodies into this new cycle or back to normal cycle after fasting for 30 days?
One of the things that I saw was a lot of people commenting on their cup of coffee in the morning, and because they missed it. But during the month of Ramadan, your body didn't need it. It allowed you to detox from it. So just because we're used to something doesn't mean we should go back to something, pre-Ramadan. So the principles here that we look at is not just what you consume, it's a strategy of how you consume it. So I saw a beautiful thing yesterday at breakfast when I went to Mayfair. And one of the uncles there didn't have a big plate, a normal size plate. They took a side plate and they dished their food into a side plate. So the one thing to become aware of at this point, okay, to the moms and or the dads who are preparing meals, hey, I can't help with 2 to 3 meals preparation. That's for you to decide. But what I can support you with is maintaining the physiological benefits. Smaller portion controls, maintain high fiber, maintain fruits and veggies, avoid high salt foods and highly processed foods, and look out for your water intake. If ever you have more things during the day, it's more water, because you want to keep the body hydrated, because when you're dehydrated, you decrease the body's enzymatic reactions, which means it does lead into affecting your metabolism and, of course, sluggishness, fatigue, and irritability. So hydration, more often than not, you're not hungry, you're actually thirsty. And that's what your body needs more than what it does food, according to what you think is 5 or 6 meals a day that you need.
And from the context of coming out of the month of Ramadan, of course, it's meant to make us Muslims more conscious to the real life issues of food insecurity. And we know that that is something, hunger is something that thousands of South Africans face on a daily basis. There are children who are going to school every day, who are going to school hungry and coming home hungry. And, this kind of malnutrition cycle that exists is extremely dangerous for children. And of course, coming out of the month of Ramadan, we need to be more mindful. And we're choosing mindfulness. And we talked about mindfulness being our word for 2025. And remembering that, yes, we enjoyed the luxuries and the wonderfulness of celebrating Eid and coming to a closure of a Ramadan, we need to remember that there are people in the world who are struggling from malnutrition and food insecurity moving forward. That your Ramadan is over, but theirs is continuing on for days and days and days. What is a message that you would like to share with our viewers in terms of being mindful of the sacrifices we made during Ramadan and being more conscious of that moving forward and doing our part in any way that we can to contribute, or rather, fight the fight against hunger?
One of the social media posts by one of the Islamic scholars in Ramadan resonated deeply within me. And it was a post by a Muslim in Africa that said, Sheikh, does our fast still count if I don't have anything to eat at Sehri and Iftar? What this period has brought to us is beyond mindfulness. Because mindfulness, for lack of a better phrase, is being present in the here and the now without judgment. The opportunity that Ramadan has brought to us is an experience of what it's like to feel hunger. And if that experience of feeling hunger is amplified for more than just 12 hours, how will you survive? So what are we doing to give back, and what are we doing to support the Islamic schools? We're supporting feeding programs, but also food insecurity is massive. Food sovereignty in COVID was a massive story because it impacted everything. So food quality is also risky. And when we look at that issue, how are we enabling not just to feed, but how to get people to plant gardens, to enable them to handle their food sovereignty themselves in their own ownership, in the gardens, in schools, in madrasas, in Islamic schools, wherever else the communities may be. And that is the awareness that comes to fruition. And I throw forward to our next Eid. How many of us are going to be going out there and slaughtering and saying, let's donate the meat? Alhamdulillah, that's a blessing. But we're having that experience when we have that opportunity. I'm not saying give everything back, but be mindful of the Islamic principles of giving and awareness of those that don't. And that means we appreciate more what we do have. And a simple thing like sleep, we have. Food, we have. Ability to go to a gym or move our bodies, we have. Safety, to a degree, we have better than others. But once we look after ourselves, how do we amplify that message as a ripple effect to someone else and let them amplify it and let them amplify it and move beyond the alleyways of X and social media, because your comments actually mean very little. It's your actions that count.
Very powerfully said, Ronald. And I think what a wonderful way to close our conversation this evening, leaving us with a lot of food for thought in terms of beyond mindfulness, being conscious of the sacrifices we made in Ramadan and carrying on those feelings and those sacrifices moving forward to combat food insecurity in any way that we can and contribute in any possible way that we can to fight the fight against hunger. But Ronald, thank you for our insightful conversation today. As always, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for your insight and for sharing with us.
Always a pleasure.
Viewers at home, that was our resident wellness expert, Mr. Ronald Abvajee. I do hope you felt moved by the last segment or the last portion of our conversation today to do your part. Remember the sacrifices and the struggles you felt whilst fasting and take those feelings moving forward and support communities, support the people within your communities who need help. Remember, there might be a community member who could be right on your doorstep who could be needing your help. So let's all play our part to fight food insecurity. But on that note, it is time for us to head over to a quick ad break and we'll come right back.